With the straddle on to 100 again, Vegas Matt picks up pocket queens in the hijack. He assembles chips and raises to 250. Benz gets pretty out of line, deciding to make a call with 10-5 suited. The good news is that he'll have removal to all straight possibilities, but that's close to all that he has going for him at the moment. We wake up with 2 Broadway cards, and we're in a nice colored shirt because my girlfriend told me I needed to mix it up and not always wear a hoodie and t-shirt. For the first time in a long time, I make a call from the big blind, not dressed as a 12-year-old. Nate has some suited cards that he wants to play. He calls as well. We're going 4 ways to the flop from out of position. The dealer puts out Jack 10-6 with 2 hearts. We've got an open-ended straight draw, 2 overs, and a backdoor flush draw. All things considered, it's pretty good for us. We've got the most equity, despite not having a pair. It checks to Vegas Matt, the pre-flop aggressor. He's feeling good with his over pair, and there's no reason not to be. He bets 550, which is about half a pot-sized bet. Benz didn't call a pre-flop raise to fold middle pair and a backdoor flush draw. He calls. I don't get the sense that Vegas Matt is bluffing, so I don't want to check raise as a semi-bluff, and I actually don't mind having multiple opponents in case I'm able to hit a straight. It just means that there are more people to possibly pay me off if, say, the 9 of spades comes on the turn. I call. Nate folds immediately. It's down to the 3 of us. The turn is the 9 of diamonds, giving us the absolute nuts. It's a card that Matt might feel decent about too, since he picks up the open-ended straight draw, but is drawing dead to a chop. I do a cool little check with my finger to hopefully induce a bet. Matt is in a rare situation in which he has the exact amount of chips in his stack as there is in the pot. He thinks it'd be neat to make sure that they're the same amount, and the best way to do that is by getting his chips in the middle to compare both amounts side by side.
Well, and game over for Vegas Matt as he jams his queens on the turn for 2,700. Brad says, I have the nuts, and snaps it off. So Vegas Matt looking for the 3-outer to a chop on the river.
The opponent's in rough shape. He reveals that he has the overpair, and he's in double-double toil and trouble. He wants to run it twice. I'm good with that. The first river is the 6 of hearts, which means I'll be getting at least 75% of the pot. If Matt's able to spike one of the 3 remaining kings, I wouldn't mind too much. He's a fun person to root for, especially since he's taken a shot in this game. The second river is the 3 of spades instead. We win both runouts to stack the opponent. It was a tough situation for him. I probably would have gotten stacked with queens there as well. We're off to a good start to be up several thousand early on though. Here I look down at ace-8 offsuit in the hijack. There's no straddle this hand. Ace-8 offsuit is a borderline holding that I could raise or fold. On stream, I tend to go with the more aggressive option to make things more entertaining for the viewers. I raised to 150. Vegas Matt rebought, and he's doing pretty well on his second bullet. He 3-bets to 450 from the small blind with pocket 10s. I like it. I would have gone for a slightly larger sizing, but overall, he does a nice job finding the re-raise. In a normal game, I'd snap fold ace-8 offsuit to a 3-bet. Our hand could be dominated and doesn't have great playability, but in this particular instance, we're facing a small raise size, and I like the idea of playing another pot against Matt in position. Worst case scenario, some money goes back to Matt after he lost a cooler to us earlier. Best case scenario, we win another big pot. I make the loose call for only 6 more big blinds. We're heads up. The flop comes Jack 8-3 rainbow. We both got second pair. The opponent puts out a C-bet of 600. It's pretty rare that I'm folding flopped pairs when it's heads up, and I'm certainly not folding now. I call, but I'm in bad shape. The turn is the 9 of spades. I don't anticipate it being good for the opponent after a 3-bet pre-flop. His range will do better on boards that have more Broadway cards out there. I definitely don't think that he's got that great of a hand once he checks. I doubt Matt has 2 pair or better. On a similar board, Matt jammed turn for a pot-sized bet with an overpair, so it's feeling to me like we're up against ace-king or ace-queen rather than top pair or an overpair. I bet 700 to take control of the pot and charge ace-high type of hands. If the opponent calls, I'll check back nearly every river to ensure that we get to showdown relatively cheaply. The opponent calls, maybe he'll have a flush draw of some sort. The river is the queen of hearts, completing the flush draw and putting 4 to the straight on board. Matt hits the backdoor straight. He's out of his seat excited. He's got all the 10s and wants to make sure that I don't check back. He bets 1,500. I'm done with the hand that I shouldn't have even gotten involved with in the first place. I fold quickly. Matt gets a good amount of money back. He's only in for 10,000, so he's not down much anymore after being in the hole early on. Matt shows half of his collection of 10s. Then he shows me the second half of his collection before expressing some concern about the river card.
But I figured he would have a flush for sure.
Nothing for him to worry about today.
2 tens?
No, you had the best hand. Very nice hand.
Thanks.
Makes your hand
But
even better.
I should have bet less than you would have called. How does that work? I would have to win more.
You couldn't have bet any amount that I was going to call.
Oh, really? You missed whatever you were looking for, or what happened?
No, I just had a hand that got worse and worse.
I see.
It's good to see Matt asking questions and trying to learn more about the game. I'm always happy to be honest with people about what I have, even if I'm slightly annoyed at myself for calling pre-flop 3 bets with bad hands. Vegas Matt does a good job making close to the maximum from me. In this one, Vegas Matt picks up some cards he wants to play in middle position. He limps in for 50. In cash games, generally you don't want to limp in when you're first to enter the pot unless it folds to you in the small blind. We've got an opportunity to see a flop for half a big blind with Jack 3 of hearts. I call. Nate isn't going to let anyone advance for 50. He needs to punish the limpers by raising to 250. Matt isn't too happy about it, but he didn't limp in to fold. He calls for 200 more. I'm closing the action and getting a good price with suited cards. I come along for the ride as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop from out of position. The dealer puts out 6-4 deuce rainbow. We've got a gutter and 1 over. No one really hits this very hard. I check. This is a board that shouldn't connect well with Nate after he raises from the big blind, but he gathers chips and bets 250. Low pocket pairs and other combos containing small cards are typically going to be content seeing flops for free, so the fact that Nate raised pre-flop leads me to believe that at the very best, he's only going to have 1 pair. The opponent that I have to be most worried about is Matt after he limp called a raise, but as we see him react here, he doesn't appear to be all that strong before grabbing chips and making the call. Sure, he could be feigning weakness and might actually be really strong, but the way that I've seen him play other hands, I would have expected him to raise with 2 pair or better. His comment earlier about being worried that I might have rivered the flush when he made the straight with his pocket 10s leads me to believe that he may suffer from monsters under the bed syndrome, which means that even if he does have a good pair in this particular instance, he might be someone who's prone to overfolding. I've got removal to the straight, and the way it was played pre-flop, it probably appears like I might have a hand containing low cards. My image is also pretty solid at the moment without having shown down any bluffs. When we put everything together, the fact that the pre-flop aggressor shouldn't have connected, the physical tells, the past history, the nut advantage that we have, the removal that we have, and my image, it's a good opportunity to make a move. I check raise to 1100. I'd prefer to have a backdoor heart draw to go with my straight draw, but there were enough other elements in this situation that favored us. I went for it anyway. Nate folds. Vegas Matt is also caught at the bottom of his range. He could already be drawing close to dead. He understandably folds. We get a nice play through with a decent amount of equity even if we had gotten called. This ends up being Vegas Matt's last hand because he has fake dinner plans. He did a great job of making a comeback, booking only a 2K loss, which isn't much in a game with straddles to 100 and 200 regularly on. In this one, Ape Styles picks up a premium pocket pair in the cutoff. He raises to 150. When he raises from the cutoff, he's going to have a lot of offsuit hands that he really won't want to play from out of position if we 3-bet him. I re-raised to 450 to fold out some hands that are better than ours, like weak offsuit aces, all the way up to ace-jack offsuit, then also king-jack offsuit, and other combinations that have a good amount of equity against us. With our 3-bet, we also take control of the pot in case the opponent has a low pocket pair that doesn't connect, then we can often win with a small c-bet even if we don't make a pair. Ape Styles isn't going anywhere, he calls to close the action. We're going heads up to the flop against the opponent. It comes King 10-3 rainbow. It's a situation designed for me to lose all my chips and sanity. The cutoff checks. I'm trying to think about how I can get my stack into the middle. I'm loving life right now, but it all might be about to come crashing down as I bet 600. Ape Styles probably thinks that I have ace-king. He's contemplating whether or not to make his move now or wait to make it on a future street. If he check raises, I'll be losing a lot of cash. Ape elects the flat in order to set the trap. I put him on a high pocket pair, straight draws, and king-queen type of hands. The turn is the queen of hearts. I hate seeing it because a high percentage of hands that I put the cutoff on have improved to take the lead or will at least have a ton of outs against us. The opponent checks. Now that we've been downgraded to no longer having top 2 pair, coupled with the fact that we could be up against a straight, set, or better 2 pair, I don't want to inflate the pot. Getting check raised in this situation would make me want to throw up. I employ the same tactic that I did earlier against Ape Styles as I check back turn with intentions of at least calling any reasonable river bet regardless of what card comes out. The dealer puts out the 9 of diamonds, there are 4 to the straight on board, It's very likely that we're up against a straight or set, but there's still some chance that we could be up against a worse 2-pair, like Queen 10, Queen 9, or 10-9.
This was supposed to be
Jack
a
will take it.
catastrophe for Brad, and instead he's going to lose a little bit, but nothing serious.
Ape Styles goes for a stack. I'm hoping it's not going to be too expensive for me. I've got a baby on the way. The opponent bets 900. It's close to 40% of the pot. I checked for pot control on the turn. This is definitely an amount that I'm okay investing. I call. Sometimes with investments you lose. In this instance, I'm just surprised at the way I lose with the opponent finding the case 10.
You have that.
How do you have that?
Lost the minimum.
He really did.
He really did.
A couple of things had to go right to not lose the whole stack. There was fortunately no check raise on the flop. Then the run out got worse and worse for King 10. I'm glad to still have the majority of my chips in front of me, but I still lost a good chunk.